thank you very much for being and joining us.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. It's really great to be here. I can see that large corporations are not very popular. The room was more full a while ago, but I hope that I will be able to convey
the people that matter are here.
Okay, no, perfect. That's great. But
Definitely
there is an effort to be made on our side, I guess, to really attract young talent and entrepreneurs, and I think that's that's also part of the challenge.
We'll get there. I think there are many interesting angles here, and as someone that has been doing startups for more than 20 years, I always appreciate that large corporations and people in your position share their time to be here to share your side of the story. Because this is not just one side of the story, it's two sides. So I'll start with, I think everyone is fully aware of the current situation that we are in right now in terms of defense and space and sovereignty of technology in Europe. But I would love to hear your analysis, your perspective of, what's the current situation? I'm tempted to say, how bad is it?
Well, I think, thank you very much for the invitation, first of all, and it's a great pleasure to be here. Again, the situation in Europe in defense is, I think it's what it is. For many years, as you know, Europe has outsourced its energy supply from Western Europe, Russia mainly. It has outsourced its industrial capabilities from China. It has outsourced its defense from the US. And all of a sudden, after the war of Ukraine, and also, with the increasing conflicts around us, I think Europe has realized that, the time to rely on our long-time strategic partners is over, and that we just need to rebuild a number of critical capabilities, both in energy, in industry, and in defense. And I think that this is it was a moment of truth after the war of Ukraine. And I think the question now is how we can do this, how we can do it quickly enough. I think agility and speed is of the essence, and how we can do it in a way that we get the returns of the investments that we're going to make. Because I think one of the big paradigms of the European spend on defense is that 80% of what we spend on defense goes outside of Europe. So we need both to make sure that we can spend more, that we can spend more smartly, that we can spend more in Europe. And for this to happen, we just need to create the right industrial ecosystem and the right supply chains to be able that this investment really bears fruit in our continent. And this means a number of things that I will be very happy to develop, because it needs integration, it needs size. I mean, we are talking about a very specific industry. This is not about long series like in the car manufacturing. These are small series. These are projects that require a lot of investment in R&D, and R&T, so you require scale, or you require to join investment, because again, any of these projects really requires a lot of investment. It has a long time to bear fruit, and we just need to make sure that we accelerate the pace and that we do it smartly in Europe to make sure that we can also capture the returns and enable the ecosystem.
I'm going to be a little bit cheeky, because you touched
I was
on a point that's quite interesting. And as an spectator from outside, I felt, you mentioned like the trigger was the Ukraine war, but I felt that Europe wasn't taking this seriously until recently. Like with the change in the White House, things changed dramatically, I think, in the mentality of Europeans. And as someone that has a front row of I don't know if I would call it the circus or the situation right now, do you feel that we're finally at a point where people are really taking this seriously? Because you hear a lot of talk, but is this becoming serious now, saying the objective is to cut down dependence by X amount?
I think, to be honest, ministries of defense around Europe are taking this very seriously. I think this also comes together with the fact that despite NATO will always be core and relevant and really at the center of our European defense strategy, I think that the feeling today is that NATO might not be as, or the US might not be as a reliable ally as it used to be in the past, in the sense of it's willing to deploy capabilities and means to really protect the European interest. And I'm not only talking about our borders, I'm really talking about really protecting our value systems and our democracies, and we can also talk about cybersecurity and state interference in domestic politics. So I think this idea of really, we cannot really rely, as we used to do in the past, on certain third parties is definitely now very much at the center of every defense ministry in Europe. So I think the awareness is there. The mobilization of the budgets is there, but I think we still need to be faster and more determined at defining the right European programs and to join forces to make sure that we can really build at scale alternatives to what the US used to bring in the past. And I think there are very, very relevant examples in the next generation fighter, in the transport capabilities, in the MRTT, in the refueling tankers. There are very good examples when really Europe is cooperating and joining forces and creating platforms at scales, but there are other areas where we are not yet there able to progress at
because
fast
I
enough.
always, I always think about you guys as being in a privileged position, but also in one of the most complicated positions, because you have to coordinate all these people with different agendas, different slight twists on how to do things. And one example of, and I would love to hear your take on, just to put one example of a program that Europe is doing at scale that you guys are involved in, which is Project Bromo. So if you can share a little bit more with everyone, what is Project Bromo, why we're doing it, what are the challenges, but what can we achieve by doing that?
Yeah, I think one of the characteristics of the procurement of the different European states in the defense side is the fragmentation. Every European army has its specificities, and in the past, every Ministry of Defense has defined very specific requirements and specification to develop their platforms and their needs. So the ministries of defense, the states are usually our clients, and we need to understand that dealing with the ministries of defense has its own ways, and you need to. That's I think why also it's sometimes difficult for startups and for smaller companies to really get into the wheel and into the ecosystem of like general procurement for the defense ministries. But once you're there, and once you establish a trustworthy relationship, I think that you have the means to really grow and build that scale. So I think when you speak about Bromo, it's another paradigm of what Bromo is. Well, you know that in the space area, Europe is again really very much behind other global players, and we are competing with hegemons, with huge and relevant players, be it SpaceX and Starlink in the US, be it Amazon in the US. They are really very well-established satellite companies, and SpaceX mostly in the launching part really has almost a monopoly in the access to space. So, and on the other side, we are competing with China, who is really is state sponsoring their activity on this side. So we have on the one side very large incumbents in the US. On the other side, really state-sponsored players in China. And again, in Europe, in the space domain, we are also installed in another kind of a fragmented industry. And we need to create, again, the means to bring together research and development budgets and production capabilities to again be able to compete at scale with these kind of players. So October last year, we announced a project to merge the space assets of Airbus, of Thales, and of Leonardo to build a European champion in the area of space, to have at least the elements to compete with the kind of players that have today almost a monopoly on the civil side, be it institutional or retail, or almost also in the military side. So the idea is to bring that three players together to create a new company. The project is called Bromo. I hope the name of the company will be different, because I'm not sure that anyone would think of. We need to think about the name of the new company, and the idea is that it comes to fruition in 2027. But we are still in the regulatory process approval, which is never easy in Europe, and we need to just make sure that the European Commission and everybody who is really in charge of the file understands that the market is not Europe, the market is the world. The space has no borders, and currently, unless we join forces once more to create the Airbus of space, I love the word Airbus because I think it represents really what Europe can do when you play together. So I hope we can bring this process, this project into fruition urgently and at pace, because I think time is of the essence, and time is now.
I love that you mentioned the marketing branding part, right?
Well,
like you're speaking like Eleonora Musk now, the European one.
Come on.
No, but it's fantastic. And I remember when we were preparing this interview, and you brought up a very interesting point. You said, and you mentioned it a moment ago, you said right now we have a problem with access to space, right? There's I wouldn't say a monopoly, but effectively a monopoly by SpaceX. But you mentioned something that for me was really important. You said, we are a company, and even if we merge our companies and we create a huge European champion, okay, we can accelerate budgets, we have bigger budgets, we can accelerate the procurement and everything. But there's one part which is vision and ideas, right? And you told me something that for me was very, very interesting. You said, well, we're a company that we are hired by other people to build things. If the origin of that order is not visionary about what should we be building in the future, we cannot take over.
Yeah, well, I think this is a very interesting topic, because due to the emergence of artificial intelligence, due to the emerging of high processing capabilities, I think every company around the world is trying to reimagine how business is going to look like in the future. So I have exposure to many sectors, and this is really about how we reimagine the competitive environment, how we reimagine our business in the context of AI, in the context of hyperscalers, in the context even of quantum computing. So every leader has that challenge. And I think that also states and security and defense has to take also this approach. We need to reimagine defense. How's going to be how the defense of the future is going to look like. We need to build capabilities not for today. We need to build capabilities for the future. So when we talk about the future combat cloud, we need to envision and reimagine how all the platforms are going to be integrated together, can interact together, how each element of the infrastructure can almost become a command and control center, almost autonomous, cyber-safe, resilient, to really be able to make its own decisions and to interact with the rest of the ecosystem. So reimagining and being able to define how this environment will look like is a very hard exercise. So I think that we need skills that are probably closer to the gaming technology sometimes than to the core of the fabrics of what traditional defense has been in the past. So that's why I believe that being present in this type of environments and making also a call to action to young entrepreneurs and technologies to really embrace the defense sector as an area of activity and as an area of really interest is important, because I think there are many players in that environment, but there are many ethical players and companies with values that are really keen to embrace this talent to protect our borders and, most important, to protect our democracies.
Values.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very good. We're nearly on time, so I'm going to give you a magic wand, right?
Okay.
And a crystal ball. And if you're looking into the future, how do you see the future going, the future of European defense, future of our own sovereignty? And if you could change something, what would that be?
Well, I would very much like to be able to have a better coordination and integration between countries around a number of nuclear programs to make sure that we can vertebrate the defense strategy for Europe. I'd love to have a single future fighter program really supported by the most relevant countries in Europe. I'd love to have this future combat air system, and I love just to make sure that we can make some concessions and trade-offs amongst platforms so that we can integrate further our platforms and we can really continue building concepts similar to what Airbus has done in the commercial aviation space. I think Airbus is really on the commercial aviation space is the paradigm of what Europe can do when Europe plays together as a team. I mean, it's amazing what we've been able to accomplish versus Boeing in quite a small period of time. The challenge is that no country in Europe recognizes Airbus as their national champion. I was saying this before. When Trump goes around the world, he sells Boeing. When Lula goes around the world, he sells Embraer. I mean, no one has Airbus in their pocket because it's Europe.
Yeah.
So also a call to action, please make Airbus part of your Spain and national kind of
I know
portfolio.
Friends here in Spain always say that they feel Airbus is part of the Spanish legacy. So
well, it is, but when you think who's the Spain national champion in defense, I'm not sure you will have such a straightforward answer.
do you think this mentality changing now fast?
Not fast enough.
Not fast enough. It's never fast enough.
Not fast enough.
Okay, well, with this, I'll let you go, but I deeply appreciate your time. I know you're a very busy person, and I find it fascinating to hear your insider perspective of this thing, because first of all, we put a face to a very large company, and I think we grow that value that you mentioned, that we feel that Airbus is our company. It's a European value company that we can progress and build.
Thank you. I wish it's the case. And as I said, I mean, platforms are becoming more and more intelligent, and they are just following a similar path to computers. I come from the computer business. Before, it was the computer that was really the center of everything. Now, and then it was the software around it. Now we need to embark smart software in those platforms, and we need more than ever cyber experts, tech experts, software experts to really make those platforms really leading edge and competitive in the type of scenario we are facing. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Big applause,
Thank you.
Amparo. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Amparo. Pleasure.